Welcome to Guns 101, our video welcome message for new gun owners. It's brought to you by the Self-Defense Radio Network. I'm Rob Morse from Self-Defense Gun Stories. My partners are Amanda Suffolk from Eye on the Target Radio, and that guy behind the curtain doing the heavy tech, that's Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. We have Ken Campbell with us. He's CEO of Gun Sight Training Academy. Ken, 1 million people brought brand new guns home. They've got them in the box. Maybe they got to shoot them before quarantine. Maybe not. We've learned how to live with firearms. Teach these new gun owners the 4 rules, if you could.
Absolutely. The founder of Gun Sight Academy was a gent named Jeff Cooper. And Jeff was a very, very wise man. And one of the gifts he had was be able to take a lengthy subject and synthesize it down into a simple manner. And he's the one who came up with what originally was 3 safety rules. And then in the early 80s, they came into 4 safety rules in there. If you buy a gun today, and I just picked up my new Colt Python today from the Gun Sight Pro Shop, I got my safety manual out here, and there's multiple pages of safety rules in here, several. Now, the problem with that is a lot of males won't read that book. You know, we know all there is to know about everything, much less guns. I don't need to read those safety rules. But with multiple pages in there, if you do read them, there's a good chance you aren't going to retain them, much less follow them. Well, Col.Cooper synthesized these down into 4 safety rules that you can burn into your consciousness and make them a part of your everyday life. Basically, if you violate one of these safety rules, it's not good. But it takes a violation of 2 of them usually for it to be a tragedy. Now, rule 1, all guns are always loaded. I spent 35 years in law enforcement, and I don't know how many calls I went to that was a negligent shooting. And one of the things the person said was, I didn't know the gun was loaded. Folks, when you pick up that firearm, you have to assume it's loaded. If I take the gun out of my holster and I load it and I check it and I pass it off to Amanda, I'm going to be upset if she doesn't check the magazine well, check the chamber as well, even though she just saw it pass from my hands like that to hers, because all guns are always loaded. Rule 2. Never let the muzzle, that's the big hole on the end that the destruction comes out of. Never let the muzzle cover anything you're not willing to destroy. Now, whether that's your favorite Sony big screen TV, your foot, the person next to you's foot on the firing line, or whatever, you don't let that muzzle cover anything you are not willing to destroy. You just can't stick a SpongeBob Band-Aid on it and get things fixed. Rule 3. And we call it the golden rule at Gun Sight. And this is the one that Jeff added in the early 80s. Keep your finger off the trigger until your sights are on target. Well, cunningly enough, when those engineers designed that gun, that front sight is right over the muzzle. Remember rule 2, never let it cover anything you're not willing to destroy? Well, if my finger is on the trigger because my sights are on target, my muzzle is covering that and I'm willing to destroy it, so it's okay. Now, why is that so crucial that I keep my finger off the trigger till my sights are on target? Well, there's some physiological reactions that occur. There's a startle response. If my bride Sherry's coming down the hallway and I jump out and yell boo, you're going to want to cover up. You want to protect the melon. You want to squeeze up, tense up. If your finger's on the trigger of whatever your favorite blaster is, the gun's going to do what it's designed to do when you clench up on that trigger. The startle response. There's a loss of balance response. I'm going through my house and I simply stub my toe when I go to fall. Again, I'm going to try to clench up, cover up, protect my head. And if my pistol is in my hand, my rifle, my shotgun, my finger's on the trigger, it's going to do what it's designed to do. So we got a startle response, a loss of balance response, and we've got a sympathetic squeeze. I'm trying to open the door. I'm trying to hold my child or my grandchild back, and I squeeze my support hand. If my finger's on the trigger, there's a fair chance you'll squeeze the trigger on your strong hand as well. So keep your finger off the trigger until those sights are on target. And finally, rule number 4, always be sure what your target is and what is beyond your target. Our late friend Louis Auerbach, one of the greatest firearms instructors to live, used to call it the busload of nuns and orphans that was passing behind your target. You don't shoot at sight, shadows, sounds. You've got to be able to identify that target, know it's a miscreant, know that there's ability, opportunity, jeopardy there for you to be able to use that force, and you want to know what's behind it in the event you miss or that bullet passes through. You know, if you take those simple safety rules, you ingrain them into your consciousness, you make them an everyday part of your life, your chances of having that negligent discharge are greatly reduced, and the chances of having that negligent discharge be a tragedy are even more reduced. Folks, if you pick up an electric drill or an electric mixer or a hair dryer that's got a pistol grip on it, you want to have that straight trigger finger. You want to be that well ingrained. 4 rules, if you follow them, again, life would be so much better for y'all.
Well, I think you're so right. I want to circle back on 2 things. One of them is trigger discipline. As you talk about keeping your finger off the trigger, you know that you're a gun person when you watch somebody use a garden hose, because their trigger discipline on a garden hose is amazing. So that's when you know I've accomplished what I need to accomplish in my training skills, is I've got my finger off to the side of my garden hose until I'm ready to pull the trigger and to water those plants. The other thing is go back and reiterate the fact that there's 4 safety rules, and if they violate one, it's bad, but it is not horrific. If they violate 2, it heads for the non-recoverable stage. So go back over that, because it's such a great point that we don't want to miss it.
If I'm on the range and I'm in a low ready position and I have my finger on the trigger and something startles me and a gun goes off, my muzzle's covering something I'm willing to destroy. It's going to go into a safe backstop. It's not a good thing, but it's not a tragedy. If I had that gun and it was pointed at my foot or the person on the left or right of me on the firing line, of course 6 feet apart, practicing good social distancing, then it would be a tragedy. If you violate 1, it's not good. If you violate 2, that's when it becomes a tragedy in there. If I've got my finger off the trigger and I stumble, okay, well, I've stumbled, I've fallen down, but I've kept my muzzle down range and I've kept that gun forward. I didn't violate 2 rules. It's just so simple and so easy, and put it in a way that you can keep them locked into your brain. So again, like you say, when you pick up that garden hose, you pick up that hair dryer, that electric drill, and that finger is just right there straight, and you don't even think twice about it. Or when we watch the news and we see our warriors, now whether that's our friends in blue and brown that patrol our streets and keep us safe, or whether it's our warriors overseas, you see them moving with carbines and pistols and shotguns, and they've got that straight trigger finger. And then again, that's the mark of a true warrior.
That's it. That's a great point. Very much a great point. So Ken Campbell from Gun Sight Training Academy, and you want to check him out. I'll tell you, I went and took a class, and it was phenomenal. And I can't wait to do it again. So we'll be back with Ken and more videos.